Cheers! Welcome to episode 3, Brown Ale from a Red Shed. The beer, ice cold and it's 32 degrees and 50% humidity today, so it is dark. It is very dark. We came out a little high on the gravity, you might recall. That generally turns into a little more green, a little darker beer. All right, so color, really dark. We used a lot of darker malts in this, the amber malt and the chocolate malt in particular. But look at the color of this beer. And I mean, obviously, too, it's crystal clear. You can see the lights off of the LED there. Really dark, but phenomenally flavorful. The nose is dark-skinned fruits, chocolate, a little bit of vanilla. No roast. It's much more of a sweeter, richer malt flavor. There's no hop presence whatsoever in the aroma, but there's certainly some richness in the flavor that's there. As for the drink, now this is the important thing. We had 4 kilograms of Bentley, kilogram and a half of biscuit malt, just shy of a kilogram and a half of amber, 700 grams, so just a small amount of chocolate. So most of this color is coming from that chocolate and the amber, and they certainly are present in the beer. It's been on gas now for about 5 days, like 4 or 5 days, 6 days tops, 5 days, because I think I did it on Thursday. Let's get it in there. Incredibly rich. I would even say there's certainly a little nuttiness from that biscuit, from the amber. It's almost crossing the road to being a porter. In fact, I think by many definitions, it could already be a porter. It's got that, we mashed it fairly warm, so we've got that sweetness in there. It's got that rich malt sweetness, fruity, dark-skinned fruits. It may have actually crossed the road from a brown ale into a porter, although I think it's hopped enough that it might not qualify as a porter. As I said on the brew day, just because we didn't nail it the way we had expected, or it didn't come out the way we'd expected, doesn't mean it's not a good beer. In fact, it's a phenomenal beer. It's delicious. The grain produced unbelievably well. I can't get over both the level of sugar and flavor that we got out of this Red Shed grain. I need to have another appropriate English style pull off of this glass here. It's the only right thing to do. Laces up nicely. Like, again, despite the fact that we had pulled so much of that protein out, head retention's not a problem, even though we have no crystal malts and no caramalts. It laces up beautifully. The head, it's still down to just a film of head, but it has not died back. It's not going anywhere, is really what I'm saying. So from a drinkability perspective, it's absolutely stunning. Things we would change. I'm gonna wait to get some more of the feedback from a few other drinkers. But things I would change. In this particular one, I might dial back the amber a little bit. It's got a bit of a sharpness that I'm not used to in a brown. And I think it's coming from the amber. Maybe taking the amber back to even 750 grams, which would be almost 50%. No, sorry, about 65%. Right now, it is only 17% of the grist. Like, that would be dialing it down to about 10% of the grist. And I think that would help to bring both the ABV back down where it should be, and certainly that sharpness that you get from the amber, that sharpness and nuttiness. I don't know. I think it's what I'm going to have to play with, because I'm using a grain that I'm unfamiliar with and that doesn't have a huge user base of experience. In many ways, everything we do with a new malt, and this isn't a knock. This is, if nothing else, it's just simply the growing pains of working with a new malt. Red Shed has provided some incredible malts for us to work with. It's our job as brewers now to figure out how to make those work in our recipes and to produce recipes that take advantage of those flavors and of that taste, right? So I might dial back the amber a little bit, or just simply remove the chocolate altogether. It could be that the chocolate is what's contributing some of that little bit of bite. We know that we didn't go over on our sparge. We didn't go over temp on our sparge. There's no dryness to this. There's no what's the word I'm looking for? When it's astringency. So there's none of that. So it's not got tannins or anything like that playing in here. This is purely the grain bill that's giving it this. We fermented it with Cephal SO4. SO4 is a wonderful English style yeast. Ferments really clean, fairly quickly, doesn't throw a ton of esters. It's a very neutral yeast, very much like the traditional English yeasts. So it was totally spot on. It may be that German tradition, that Hallertau tradition, maybe we needed to put that first and then use the East Kent Goldings to finish it. Maybe that would have made it a little bit more style appropriate. Either way, though, an incredibly drinkable beer, 4.5%, so low ABV, very sessionable, despite incredible flavor. And I mean, the head on this, now that it's died down, I wish I could get the camera to reveal this a little better, but it looks like a traditional nitrous pour. The foam or the head on the beer is still, 3 millimeters or so, but in the middle of the glass, it looks like the crema on a cup of espresso. It's that super tight bubbles. Truly, absolutely an astounding beer. And one I am very glad to have in my fridge for as long as it lasts. That's the drink it. So my rating on the beer, we'll go with an untapped rating. As a London brown, I think it would fall flat. I think it's a little too strong. I think it's a little too bold. But as a mild porter or a well, I guess maybe, technically as a London brown, it's a second running of a porter. It should taste like a porter, just lighter, and it is. It doesn't have any heaviness. It doesn't have any alcohol. It's just a really drinkable, malt-rich beer. I'm going to go, if I just bought it and I had paid $7 for a bomber, or $9 or $11 for a bomber, I'd buy it again. So I'm going to say 3.75, bordering on a 4. But I'm not going to pump myself up with a 4 by ego. I think 3.75 for a first crack at a recipe, out of the blue with a malt we've never used. The style is just a titch off, but it's an easy drinking and really tasty beer. So I would urge you, challenge yourself to find a recipe or build a recipe on your own. Take the things you know about grains, take the things you've learned about grains, look at other recipes, see how they are built, look at the commonalities for the style. If you want to build yourself a brown ale, download 10 recipes for brown ales and look at the similarities. What are the common threads for those beers, and what can you take from those common threads? Is it the malts? Is it the hopping? Is it the timing of hopping? Is it the style of hopping? Is it heavily influenced by Cara malts or Munich malts, or is it something like, where does it come from? Look at those cues, use those to your advantage, and get experimental. Play with your beer. Beer is all about experience, and it's the experience of creating, the experience of brewing, and then, of course, the experience of drinking. I want to attach a few other tastings to this episode at the end. I want to say thank you to Red Shed Malting, who sponsored the grain for this series. Again, redshedmalting.ca. You can find them in Penhold, Alberta. You can find them online, and you can order this stuff for yourself. And certainly talk to a few of the online sales outfits in Canada. Look to their website for a list of those suppliers. Again, thanks for watching the first beer in our series. We've got something special coming up next, and I hope you like it. It's a little bit of a stretch for me. I've never done anything quite like it, but if it turns out anything like this, I'm gonna be a happy camper for a few months. Cheers! Don't forget to build it, brew it, and then drink it.
Cheers. Oh, has like a really good chocolatey malt taste to it. Tastes like nature.